Welcome back to the Spider's Web, and in this video what we're going to be doing is painting more from the Mythic Battles Pantheon box, and we're going to be painting these young ladies. These are the Amazons, and what we're going to be doing, as we have 4 of them, I'll paint one step of it, and then I'll have a bit of a transition when we get to the end. When I get to the end of painting the 4th one, so I'll do one on camera, then I'll do these, the majority of these 3, and then put a transition in, and we'll carry on from finishing off these ones. So you're going to get to see exactly what we're doing, all of it, but I'm cutting out the majority of it for when I'm doing these last 3, because let's face it, once you've seen one, you've seen it all. So let's get the light on and let's start. Okay, so I'm going to do these in a fairly darkish skin tone, and for this I'm using Bugman's Glow. Okay, so I'll get a little bit of this on our palette. There we are. Now I don't want it completely, I don't want it that dark, so we're going to be mixing in another colour with that. And the other colour I want to use is Rakarth Flesh. It's a pale colour, it'll just give a different tint to the skin tone. So we'll get that, put some of that down on our palette, and then into that we'll add the Bugman's Glow until we get the skin tone that we quite like. So I'm wondering whether that was a little bit grey. Let's give it a try first of all, and let's see how it goes. I may need to add, in fact I'm going to add a little bit more of the Bugman's Glow to this, because as I say, it looks a little too grey for my liking, so we're going to add keep adding the colour until we get a colour that we like. I was asked in one of the last videos I did if I could put a list up, or it was saying it would be helpful if I put a list of the colours up that I use. Well, I try not to do that because I'm showing how to make the colours up as we go along. Because I don't have any set plan when I start painting of what colours I'm going to use. I basically make it up as I go along, and as such I'm trying to show that you don't actually have to have any set plan for painting your minis. All you have to do is have the desire to do so. There's no set colours to use. Use whichever colour you wish to use. I mean, for me, I want to do these fairly darkish skin colour, so that's what I'm doing. Now, you might decide you would prefer these done in a paler skin colour. That's your decision. I'm not showing you how these should be painted. I'm showing you how I am painting them, and if you choose to paint along, I would much prefer it if you did your own thing. Now, okay, fair enough, I've said this before, but for anybody who's new to the videos, suppose it's worth me explaining a little bit more. I prefer painting things my own way. That makes it my army. That makes it my model. Painting things exactly the same way as everybody else just makes it exactly the same as everybody else's. There's no difference. And I'm all about individuality. So, with that being said, if you wish to paint these minis, paint them the way you want them. Don't paint them the way somebody else does them. But if you're not terribly confident as yet, follow somebody else's advice and guidelines, and well, not guidelines, but follow these videos, yeah, but you don't necessarily have to use exactly the same colours as I use. That's what I'm trying to say. Make them your own minis. If you do your own thing, no one can say that you're wrong, because they're what you want. So that's the way I look at it, and that is how I try to show people what to do. I mean, it's not wrong having a plan and planning out the minis, or planning out the colours that you want to use. You may think it's more, you may have that mind frame where you have to have everything organised. I'm quite different in that respect. I don't particularly want to have every aspect of my life organised. I prefer, when I'm painting, to keep it free flowing and very spontaneous. So that is why, one of the reasons anyway, well, that's the main reason I don't put lists up. But if you would like me to start putting a list of the paints up, let me know. I do show the paints that I do use. I'll try to show the paints that I use before I start using them, so you can see what I'm looking at. And if you're watching, you can always make notes after that. But as I say, I'm showing how I paint them. I'm not doing a tutorial of how the models should be painted. Anyway, with that, you've just seen me do one of these, and I'm just painting all the flesh areas, as you can see. Anything that isn't flesh that is on the flesh, if I accidentally catch it, I'm not bothered too much, because I can always paint over, and it's not taking all that long to do. But as I did say, I'm going to paint one and then paint the others off camera, and then with a transition we'll come straight back. So that's what we're going to do now. Here's a transition. Okay, so we're nearing the end of this particular part of the painting. What I'm going to do next is just go back to the other minis and make sure that I've covered everywhere that should be covered. Just make sure I haven't missed anything. So yes, I think I've missed that part on every mini so far. Oops, I haven't given a proper check on that one. Did I do that hand? Yes, I did. And here, yes, once again I've missed the hip. Yep. And finally, I did that one because that was the last one I I did actually notice it on that one. But yes, all done. Didn't quite get all of that foot. But there we are. Not got that part of the hand either. Just make sure everywhere is done. Okay, so that's that bit completed. Next job is the her. So if I remember rightly, we had Bugman's Glow and Rakath Flesh for the skin. I'll leave those to one side so I don't get them mixed up. And next we'll do the hair. And with a dark skin tone you usually find a dark, incredibly dark colour for her, and that's black, and we're using Abaddon Black. So I'll add a little bit of the Abaddon Black onto our palette. Now I don't really need to put a great deal down because there's not much of this to do. And we'll just go straight into the black. If you would prefer, after all what I was saying earlier, if you would prefer me to add like a list of paints that I've used, then please do let me know if it makes anything easy, because I have been thinking about it while I've been painting, and it's not going to take on that much time to do as long as I can keep a track of what paint I have used. I can give you a list in this video, and then if you find it helpful, then I can carry on doing that. It's no big deal, but when all said and done, I do prefer to keep it kind of like open so that you can make your own choices rather than copying what I've done. I'm all for helping and assisting anybody, so as I say, if you think it would help, then I will do it to help. Final part is just the back of the hair here, and then I need to sort this brush out because the bristles are splitting somewhat, so I'll have to get into the brush restorer that I have, but we can wait for that. Now Next step. I'm just checking my brush, see whether everything's okay with it. Oh yeah, I might treat myself some new brushes actually. Oh well, who knows. So the next thing we need to do is these cloth areas. I'm trying to get the bigger areas done before we do everything else. But there's some things you have to do in a specific order. I usually do skin, hair, and then work on the clothing after that. So I was thinking of white for these, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to do, it's not white, but it's very, very near. It's as close to white as I can make it. Ulthuan Grey. Okay, that is the one I'm using. So, let's get some on the palette. I'll say it's as close to white as I can get without actually using white. It's like a chewing gum white, this colour, if you understand that colour. And I don't want to use that brush. I have put a little bit too much on, but I can always use some of this for what's the word I'm looking for? Mixing and highlighting later on. Okay, so we'll start off and we'll just do these areas. I'm going over everywhere that is the cloth. Once again, try to keep it's on the areas that we're wanting to paint and not going into the areas that we've painted, but I know occasionally your hand will slip, the brush will splay out somewhat, and it doesn't work that way. If it happens, don't worry about it, but you know, try to be neat. It saves up the correcting later. Well, not correcting, adjusting later rather. And all we need to do is just make sure the cloth areas, as I say, get covered. It may actually take 2 coats of this because with it being quite pale and watery, we want a good coverage of this colour. So I'll wait until it dries and then see if it needs another coat. I can almost definitely say it will do, looking at the way it's going on now. It's not filling with me confidence that it's going to be as good a coverage as I would like. Now, as you may or may not have noticed, I'm not usually one for bright, pristine colours with my painting. I like things looking, shall we say, a little bit grubby, a little bit more, shall we say, realistic. looking as though it's been worn and not just painted on. But sometimes the way the paint goes on, you really need a second coat, especially as we're going to be doing very little to this afterwards. It needs a good coverage, and you won't get that if it's, well, you won't get the finished effect won't look good if it's patchy. So we'll do that now and let that dry, and then we'll come back when I've done the rest of these minis, and you can see how we're looking. Okay. Okay, so we're coming to the end of this section. The rubs have all been done. I did miss on the first miniature, I did miss a couple of areas which I've gone back since and done, which was this area here and this entire area there. They've all, as I say, been done now. So it all should be nice and dry. Let's have a look. And I've just finished, make sure I've got everything here, and then go back. There are a few areas I need to touch up again. It's not as bad as I thought it might be, but still it does need another coat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch up the areas that I really need to be bright, which are basically the exterior areas. The interior folds I'm not really too bothered about, but they do need a bit of a touch up. It's not going to take too long, because if I miss anything it doesn't really make that big a difference, as long as I get all the main areas. That's all I'm really looking at for this part. So I can actually leave these bits here. I don't need to do everything like I did in the past, in the previous run, but oh yeah, that should do the job. So I'll be doing that for each one. So started that one, go on to the next one now, and I'll speed these up because it's not going to take all that long to do. there's not much else we can do with this now until it's all dry. So we'll leave that there. What we need to do now is get on with doing the rest of the metal areas, the armour and such like, and we'll use the usual thing for those parts, warp block bronze. So